Hello, welcome everyone to Court of the Rings on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. I am Lotro's community manager, Cordovan, and I'll be with you for the next hour. We're going to be doing some Q&A, and I've got someone on camera, right there. That would be Reninia. Say hello, Reninia.
Hello, nice to see folks again.
Hey, nice to see you too. And the reason you're on really this week is just to kind of check in, say hello, and the fact that you went and done posted on the forums here this week.
I did, yeah. I've been lurking for a little while, but finally got the chance to introduce myself. Now that we fixed that bug that was blocking me and other folks,
Yep.
and been trying to contribute to the community a little bit myself.
Yeah, great news for those people who ran into an issue where you couldn't sign into the forums. That was fixed, so that is now fixed. Hopefully for everyone. If not, you can submit a ticket to community support through help.standingstonegames.com. We'll take a look at it, but as far as I know, everybody who was impacted by that bug has since been fixed. So we actually had a real busy week this week related to our next update, Blood of Azog. I believe it's actually Azog. It's like an aw sound.
I think you got it right. I think it's Azog.
Azog? Okay. I'll have to check with our Loremaster there. But there we go. Anyway, we put the preview up on Bull Roar this week, and it was a pretty big one with a lot of release notes and what have you. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, but we're also here just to check in, say hello, and do a little bit of Q&A, see if there's anything you'd like us to talk about. I bet what you'd like us to talk about is a lot of what we'll be getting to over on the Bull Roar notes. So that's kind of why I thought, maybe we can hang out and do that a little bit. I would also mention that we do have a VXP or a VIP boost weekend. So hey, there you go, and that's through Sunday. I would also mention that although Bull Roar is now closed, you can actually read all these notes and things over on the Lotro forums. So if you do want to head over there and kind of follow along, you can do that. Bull Roar closed at the moment. We had a couple of raid previews, and Bull Roar is going to be coming back here in the coming weeks. I don't actually myself at this moment know whether it's next week, the week after, something like that. But within the next couple of weeks, we'll be seeing another Bull Roar preview. And I believe that's... I don't think I just said something inaccurate there, right, Reninia? I think that's
No,
right.
I think that is entirely accurate.
Yeah.
I want to say it looks like next week. I'm looking at the calendar right now. We're hoping to do another one next week,
Okay.
but it's going to depend on just how things shake out.
Yeah.
So don't want to give you a firm promise, but that's what we're targeting right now.
Yeah. And really, this was our first content preview of the Blood of Azog. But we did have some of the classwork kind of sneak in there a little bit as well, so it's worth kind of going into some of that. But for example, we have a new 12-player raid encounter. Yeah, new raid, the Fall of Khazad-dûm. With this preview, we'll be changing the way we're doing raid tests. We put Tier 1 up for the whole duration, but then we did targeted Tier 2 and up during times where some of the developers who are specifically working on that content could commit to being there and actually watch raid groups go through this content, just dedicated time, for... In this case, it was an hour. I think in the future, we might be, rather than 4 one-hour blocks, I think we're thinking something like 2 two-hour blocks, maybe. But we kicked that off this time around to have actually like Lansu, the person working on the raid this time around, go in and check that stuff out. It has a little bit of a side benefit of limiting the amount of exposure that people have to kind of bang their head against Tier 3 and up. So a little bit of a kind of strategy there to sort of keep some of that pre-game knowledge or pre-live knowledge, somewhat more managed. There's a little bit of that going on too, but it's really also about making sure that we have time to really see what's going on when we do this higher tier testing with you over on Bull Roar. And in this particular case, often a chance to really do a kind of a one-on-one with the person making the raid. And how cool is that, right? So...
Yeah, and I know that was a great experience for our team. We all enjoyed watching folks play through that, and we got a lot of great feedback out of that. That's leading to changes that we will be introducing for the next run of Bull Roar. I don't know that if all the changes are in yet. I saw a preview of some of them earlier today, but it's looking like we got some good stuff out of that, which is always great.
I don't know, Blossomberry over in Twitch chat, that an easy mode of the raid is too likely, but certainly the tier 1 is meant to be, I believe, largely accomplishable, able to be
Yeah, the
accomplished
idea for
by
us
a
with
general
T1.
group. Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I was
No,
sorry to
no,
step over
please, you
you
go
there.
ahead. You go ahead.
I was gonna say pretty
Yeah,
much the same thing. We like to think of T1 as the opportunity for most players to see the raid and experience it, but for T2 and higher to be the opportunity for folks who are more dedicated raiders to learn mechanics, really push themselves to the limit, and really go through stuff. So there's so some of the stuff that we've introduced, like the raid res limits, like that's when those mechanics really come into play. Is at those higher tiers. They're not really intended to be as punishing, or they might not necessarily even exist on T1.
yeah. All right, I'm just going to quick cut this. There we go. We're just getting the notes actually up on the screen here for those who wanted to check it out. So there will be further opportunity to preview the raid in our next Bull Roar preview, and I believe we'll be doing something along the lines of this sort of targeted tier 2 and up, feedback process. I believe in that as well, but I don't know what the exact formal times of that will be. So let's just kind of put a pin in that until we get close, until our next preview happens. Unless there's anything else you wanted to mention?
No, yeah, I think that was
All
a
right.
good summary.
So I got attributed a statement that actually, just a little bit behind the curtain. I was putting this following paragraph together just to kind of help it. This was in a Palantir forum thread, actually, something like that, where I said, "Welcome to the first look at a series of class balance adjustments we are working on for release in the coming months. This is an early look at class skill balance, in particular, that is targeted for release with Update 30. With our emphasis on challenging endgame content, we've had to reconsider the balance of certain major group buffs and debuffs that were overpowered in the context of large fellowships. This has led to the reduction of several of these effects in order to hopefully allow for a wider breadth of class compositions in such content. Now, we're balancing the work by not just focusing on nerfs, but DPS increases and other buffs as well. In these meetings that both of us have been a part of, when we've been listening in and participating in some of these discussions, the idea of this isn't just a series of nerfs is really pretty paramount in that discussion, and hopefully you'll be seeing that as well in the notes. However, please do keep in mind, and this is the statement that got my name actually put on it in the forum thread, we realize we're coming in strong with a handful of significant balance adjustments downward to skills and abilities you may be used to using, and we would appreciate you considering the entirety of the balance adjustments, in addition to just the key nerfs we're proposing. AK, we got a bunch of class balance work incoming. Just through a series of perhaps slightly unfortunate events, the nerfs came in a little front-loaded,
The
while a lot of
nerfs
the
in
other
some ways were
class
a little bit
balance work
easier
is
to
still...
figure out before
Yeah,
we
yeah,
introduced some of the other things that we were working on. And
yeah.
especially now that you've read this out loud, Cord, I think that it really does get attributed to you even more now. We can clip this and everything.
No, it was my statement. It was just kind of funny. Normally, when I say something like that, it doesn't get my name on the release notes.
Sure.
But this time, for whatever reason, it felt appropriate, I guess. So
Yeah,
yeah,
no.
yeah,
So one thing I just wanted to call out with this is that as you said, like this isn't the end of this. We're
yeah.
still working on stuff. There are additional changes. We have been looking at feedback from places like the forums to see what are the things that we may have not done as well as we wanted. Not to say that everything that we hear on the forums is things that we're always going to agree with, but we want to make sure that we're listening and evaluating. And so there are additional changes, including to some of the stuff that we already did, that I'm hoping will be in the Bull Roar next week. But past that, like we were looking at this as an opportunity to sort of do some really straightforward but high impact things
Mm-hmm.
for class balance in general. We understand that there are broader issues with things like trait lines for a lot of classes, and that is something that we definitely want to tackle, but it's not something that we realistically could tackle with the scope of work that we already have planned. So that's stuff that we are going to be thinking about probably more realistically. We'll start thinking about it internally later this year, and hopefully it'll go live mid next year. So about this time next year, probably. Just because that stuff like trait lines, those are bigger reworks. There's a lot more work involved with that. It has a lot of more cascading pieces involved. So we wanted to make sure that we give that enough time to proliferate. And so this is the first stab at this, just trying to improve things right now, and I'm reasonably confident we'll have additional stuff with Gundabad later this year. So it's not like this is the end of it. And I think I noticed a question from someone asking, if we're working on this, why we're releasing something that is not 100%. Because the reality is that we're a bubble, right? The development team is a bubble. We have players on our side who are wildly different levels of experience. And whenever we are making changes, we just don't have enough information or data to really fully understand, how are things going to get impacted. And so Bull Roar is our first real opportunity. We have Palantir, and Palantir does help, but Palantir still doesn't have the scale. Bull Roar is really our first opportunity to get a lot of players in, really see how things play out. Because we're also human, we will make mistakes. We will, nerf things too much, or we'll buff them too much, or not enough, or whatever. And so it's really valuable for us to get that feedback, because we know that there are things that are not going to be perfect. And frankly, the more things that we do, the more likely it is that something isn't perfectly right.
But also, this was just for the first Bull Roar preview. So part of this is that we will be seeing additional classwork release notes, I believe, before even we're done with the preview cycle here. So
Absolutely.
yeah. However, some of the bigger nerfs kind of got front loaded in this first one here. So hey, shall we get to some of that? I'm looking at you, Captain. Captain's ability to maintain high and extended degrees of invulnerability has made them irreplaceable in high challenge content. So we've needed to limit a few of the more powerful abilities, and you can kind of find some of that, like Kick, can no longer miss nor be blocked, parried, or evaded. We've fixed a Captain Banner Herald's issue, fixed a make haste duration, and a bunch of other kind of things. We did some work on Yellow Line and Red Line, reverted an unintentional change to Blade of Elendil, Battle Shout, and then several Captain buffs are now raid-wide, like Make Haste, Motivating Speech, Muster Courage, Rallying Cry, Rousting Cry. Champion will be like Clobber, can no longer miss, parried, blocked, evaded, etc., etc. We have some Guardian work, some Burglar work, some Bjorning work, Hunter, Loremaster, which I guess I'll get to in a second here, Minstrel, Runekeeper, and Warden, and some more things will be coming in there as well. I've got the kind of wall of release notes, and we're not going to go through that all. Reading it out loud doesn't make a lot of sense.
You don't want to do release note ASMR?
Well, I have, and I will if people really want me to. But for the most part, Loremaster is the one that I could maybe touch briefly on, because I know we're going to get some questions related to it, because on the forums it was really the one that we saw the most amount of feedback on in terms of, oh my god, please not that bad, right? So let me say that we have been kind of taking a look at that feedback, and we will take a look at a lot of this through the Bull Roar process. So it is possible that Loremaster may see some further work done on it before Update 30 releases. But like the sheer magnitude of Fire Lore and Frost Lore debuffs were, as we are saying in the release notes, considerably above where we're comfortable with for large group content. So we've reduced the Fire Lore, Frost Lore traded effect to 10%. That was from 35 and 30 respectively. And then the unimbued Fire Lore buff will be reduced to a maximum of 2.5%. While Wind Lore could actually be a little bit better, so we buffed that one up a little bit. And then the following skills effects have received an approximate increase in damage: Burning, Searing Embers, Direct and Dot, Wizard Fire, Test of Will, Gust of Wind, Cracked Earth. And the interaction between Fierce Lightning and the skill Lightning Storm has been refactored to address frame rate drops caused by the skill, so that should help for our lore masters out there as well. And then we did a little bit of tooltip work. So, but that is a pretty significant decrease for both Fire and Frost lore on the Loremaster, and we are aware that yeah, we we're taking that one down pretty significantly because we feel we need to. But we did get a lot of feedback on that on Bull Roar this week. That it was like, yeah, maybe you need to, but did you need to that much? And so we'll kind of have to
Yeah.
see where we go on that one.
Yeah,
So,
we're still
yeah.
evaluating that feedback, and we're thinking about as Cord says, what the numbers that we settled on are, if they're the right ones. I know that there's some concern that I've seen from folks that 3 and 6 player content is going to be really tough for lore masters now to get themselves included. That is something we're aware of. We do share that concern. We don't think it's as big of a concern right now as some of the folks on the forums are. We will definitely keep an eye on that to see if that is becoming an issue, because that's obviously not our intention. We do want lore masters to be viable in 3 and 6 player content as well. And if players are just if lore masters aren't able to get into those groups, then we're going to have to do more work. That's just the reality of it.
Yep. Can we have Guardian as a tank back? Yes, Guardian. There are some Guardian notes in here, but I know that I don't think we're done with Guardian work, and I know for sure we're not done with like Warden work either. So this is not
Yeah.
meant to be comprehensive in terms of the class work that needs to be done. In other words, right?
I don't want to
But
speak for the folks who are working on the class development stuff right now,
oh,
because
come on, commit them for the next 2 years. Let's do it. No, yeah.
No. I mean, I just like I didn't play Lotro super heavy when I first played it 10 years ago. Obviously, the game's changed in 10 years, and coming back to it now, like I don't have a Guardian character, and even if I did, I don't have anyone at cap, so I don't really understand that stuff yet. I'm still I've been a high end raider in other games, but I've not really had the opportunity to get in Lotro, so there are nuances that I don't quite appreciate, and certainly like Guardian abilities for tanking, main tanking, off tanking in 12 player content is not stuff that I can speak to with any real confidence. What I can say though is we definitely don't think that the captain nerfs are the only reason that Guardians will now be brought to raids. We also don't think that the Guardian DPS boosts are now enough with those captain nerfs.
Yeah.
There's going to be more work on Guardian. There's going to be more work on Warden. There's going to be more work on lots of classes. This is not the end of it. This is not like we get one bite at the apple and then we got to throw it away.
Yeah.
This is our approach is we want to make things better in general. That does not mean that it is going to be perfect or done. But the next step is to evaluate, okay, what are the things that worked? What are the things that didn't work? What got us closer? What are the things that we can then do to further get us to where we want to be, where, regardless of what class you're playing, you have a reasonable opportunity to get into the content that you want to play, the group content you want to play. At the same time, I've seen some conversations around how does this affect landscape content. Landscape content is always going to be our priority in this game. Everyone plays landscape content. Not everyone plays 3, 6, or 12 player content. So we always are mindful when we're making these changes how they're going to affect landscape. That doesn't mean that those changes can't ever go too far. As I said before, we do make mistakes. We will make mistakes. We will do our best to fix those mistakes when we make them. But right now, based on what we've seen so far and based on the feedback we've seen from players in Bull Roar, we're not super concerned with the landscape content, basically with the class changes. We'll continue to look at it, right? We have that next Bull Roar update coming, and then obviously when the patch goes live, we'll see how that plays out. But landscape players, we have not forgotten you. You are still our priority. We feel though that we have not been doing enough to help the players who are trying to raid, T1 through T5, and this is an opportunity to do some of that. That said, even if you are raiding T1, we think that for a lot of these changes, even the nerfs are not going to be super detrimental for you. But as before, we'll keep an eye on things and see how it goes.
That's the hope. Quick question I did have, I believe it was Epic Cougar mentioned Update 30. Is that going to be an expansion or a quest pack? The answer is going to be a quest pack for Update 30.
Yeah, and that will
Gundabad is our
include, I
next
believe,
expansion.
the Fall of Khazad-dûm, the raid.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I would assume so. Yeah.
So it's a really cool zone if you haven't had a chance to see it. I was actually watching some player gameplay earlier this morning. it's really interesting to see, the same stuff that I've been getting internal previews on, just from a very different perspective, from the player perspective, and it looks really cool. I'm really excited to see how players feel about it once it's live and they have an opportunity to play it without waiting for us to make as many changes.
Yeah, we did have a quick question. This is off topic. Are we going to be fixing world transfers from Villia? That would be one of the former closed worlds. We do still have work outstanding related to that. We know that it's been too long, and that is on the agenda to do. I don't have anything to announce today related to that. Other than that, work remains outstanding, and it is on our agenda. Otherwise, let me see. I also had a question from someone. This was earlier in chat. I didn't want to ignore you, though, Lyron986, but I would like to ask you. Someone is saying basically they had got some Locher music muted on their Twitch stream, and I believe you said it was the old Rohan stuff, and I believe that's the Chance Thomas stuff. So it could be that that's out of our control to be able to do anything with, but nonetheless, just send me a message privately, either on Twitch or through help.standingstonegames.com, and I can take a look. Actually, the help site would even be best, because then I could take a look at what the actual report is, and then perhaps help you take care of it. But I'm tempted to say, I know that Chance Thomas recently relaunched, the label and everything, so it may be that there is some particular music tracks that were, composed, by Chance Thomas that may be under some level of copyright. But all the new stuff that's been released in recent updates is clear to use on Twitch while you're streaming. It should be no problem, and we've found that it is no problem so far. All right, back to Bull Roar, as it were. What else do we want to mention here related to Bull Roar?
I don't nothing else jumping out. Yeah, I thank you for the folks who have been jumping into Bull Roar and giving us feedback. That's been super helpful. Please continue to do that. The forums are a great place for us to hear that kind of stuff, but we do try and keep an eye on other communities. Obviously, there's a lot of communities that exist outside of the forums, so it's we can't guarantee that we're seeing all of the stuff being said elsewhere. The forums are definitely the safest place because I know I have that tab open, and I try and check in a couple times a day.
Mm-hmm.
I can't promise. I can't respond to everything. I can't even read everything, but I try and read as much as I can.
And yes, we know that this was the first. So we're working on a communication plan to bump it earlier by a couple of days. Our heads up on when we're doing previews. That's something we want to do, and we kind of tried to do it this time around. And of course, it was the first time in a while that we had to delay our opening by like half a day or whatever. So glad we tried. A for effort on our part, but at the same time, that is the plan. So we hope to get these kind of forum threads out maybe a couple of days before we actually open up the world. Say, hey, like let's say on a Friday afternoon or something, one of us would make a post saying, hey, next Tuesday to Thursday, Bull Roar is going to be open with X, Y, and Z. That's really about the extent of what we're expecting to do, but we do want to kind of start doing that, and we tried to do that a little bit this time around, and so that's something that hopefully we'll be able to bring to the table and be a little more consistent about here too. Mm-hmm.
One other thing I should mention about Bull Roar is actually we just reopened it with some new updates. So if you want to hop back into the patch notes that we posted, we did update some new things that we're doing there. And it is back open for folks to hop into until 9 p.m. Eastern tonight. So you still have an opportunity to look at some new stuff that we took on from some of the feedback that we got already.
Cool. Wow, we were keeping it open later than usual. So
yeah, I just saw the email and I went back to the thread and I saw the change. Yeah. So it's been open for about 20 minutes.
All right, cool. Well, before I let you go, here, Reninia, let's see any kind of final thoughts or any questions maybe we get to in chat. Then I'm going to probably head in game here in a second.
Sure. Just one other thing I want to mention around class balance. just because we didn't do something for your class in this past doesn't mean that we're not thinking about it for the future. This is just the stuff that we thought was the most important, most valuable that we could do with the time that we had available to us, which wasn't a ton in anticipation of this update. But with Gundabad, we will be revisiting and doing more. And I wouldn't put aside, we probably will do something before Gundabad, though I can't be confident about the size of it at the moment. There was a question I saw. Gosh, where was it? I scrolled up, and that's always a mistake. Question about PVMP. Excuse me.
Yes.
Asking about what the status of that is. I mentioned this in the thread where I introduced myself, but basically there is work for that planned. We don't have a firm sense of when that's going to be. My hope is that it's going to be before Gundabad or included with Gundabad. It would not require purchase of the expansion, just to be clear. It would just be around the same time that we would do the release. I don't have the specifics yet of what that's going to be. We're still nailing that stuff down, but I can promise that there is stuff planned. U30 will be the last big update before Gundabad, but we will have additional updates after with bug fixes, small improvements, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we'll do our regular kind of point updates and what have you.
Right.
Yeah. Question: we can't talk about the price yet. Sorry, Soft Snake GR over on Twitch. That'll have to wait. It'll be priced approximately similar to other quest packs of its size.
And question around if there were any bug fixes in this Bulwer update. Yes, there were a handful of bugs that were fixed along from the previous push that we did earlier this week.
Yeah, you can find those notes too on the Bulwer forums. So.
And yeah, I mean, like I understand the hesitation from folks that the PVMP update won't be happening around Good and Bad. I understand that that promises have been made in the past and they have not been kept to the community satisfaction. I can't speak to that stuff. I wasn't there. But what I can say is that is my understanding right now. If that changes for some reason because things get harder or whatever, then I will be more than happy to come on the stream or say on the forums, hey, things aren't happening, and do my best to explain why. But my commitment is that either it'll happen or we'll have that conversation, and I really would rather not have to have that conversation.
yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes, right? Well, thank you very much, Verninia, for being here today. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna head in game here for a bit, so that people stop looking at a spinning ring all the time and kind of move on. I think we've covered the news of the day, so really appreciate you being here, and yeah, we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, and thank you folks for asking questions. I'm happy to answer more stuff as I get the opportunity to in the forum, so feel free to try and get my attention there. Otherwise, I'll see y'all around. Have a good one.
All right, cool. I did want to mention we do have one bit of news I can get to while I'm kind of going around here. I can just kind of read this one off while I'm wandering around the landscape a little bit. And that is that we did announce the closure of Ethel here this week. As people know, Ethel had been opened really in response to the popularity of the legendary worlds when they first opened here. And Honor was just getting hit really hard, if you recall, in those first couple of weeks, to the point that we felt it important to open another world to deal with the overflow. And it did deal with the overflow for a while. And did okay, and it has always had a nice small population. But the population is pretty small. And so what we're going to be doing is we're offering free transfers from Ethel to any other game world between now and, I'll get you the formal date, but mid-June here. I will look it up, what I actually have written down. But how about I not die while I do it? Too late. Oh my gosh. That's what I get for looking at the... That's what I get for not looking at the game when I should be. Alright, let me try that again. Yes, after June 15th. So when we take the worlds down on June 16th, which is a Wednesday, for our weekly restart, we will not be bringing Ethel back up at that time. You'll be able to transfer your characters and shared items from Ethel, but you will not be able to log into the server after June 15th through the end of the year. And then after the end of the year, the server itself is likely going to get a database wipe. And by that means your characters are going to be gone forever. If you choose not to transfer them off. So that's what's up. And that got announced this week. You can find out more about it over on Locher.com if you would like to. But it is free transfers from Ethel to Anor or any other game world between now and the end of the year. And there is also, because of the way these legendary worlds were set up, there is no geographic restriction on the worlds that you go to. So, for example, if you want to go to a European game world, you can. If you want to go to a US game world, you can. If you want to go to Anor, you can. You know, so no limits on that, and that's pretty cool. But that's where we are on that. So we have heard from players who would like us to offer not free, but transfers from Anor as well. That is something that we're looking at doing. I do think that in the relatively near future, we will be opening character transfers from Anor for those who want it. The restrictions that initially prompted us to not want to allow characters to just transfer from Anor to the other game worlds is no longer... Well, it's less relevant than it was, let's say. I mean, the Legendary World hasn't quite hit the regular game worlds yet, but there are enough players who are like, I kind of like to take my character to a different server. And at this point, there's not, there are fewer reasons to keep that restriction in place. So we've been taking a look at that this week while we were doing the work on Ethel, and we'll hopefully have something more that we can say about that in the relatively near future. But the reason we didn't just sort of flip the switch is we need to make sure... there was an issue, I guess, a while back with some transfers from the Legendary Game Worlds, and we want to just kind of have engineering and that take a look at that first, but before we do that. But that's not impacting the whole Ethel thing, so that's fine. And hopefully in the relatively near future, we'll be able to announce something for Anor as well. But it will not be free. That much I can say for sure. Okay. And also make sure you take care of your mail stuff. I wanted to mention, actually, one other thing. This is related to maybe more of the stream schedule, and that is, there had been a couple of asks relatively recently to perhaps do a raid or something on Lotro stream, and I'd kind of like to do that. I don't know that I have a lot of free time to coordinate such things, but that doesn't mean I'm not willing to give it the college try. So perhaps here we can do something like Bloody Threshold or something like that? Maybe something like Bloody Threshold? In the next week or two? Is that something that we could maybe do? Ideally, it would be kind of cool if there was just a group of people on Landreval who were like, yeah, at 11:55, just We'll send you an invite, and then you're gonna have an Insta group ready to go for you. That's the lazy version of me. That's what I'd love to see happen. If I need to do the work, though, that's fine, too. But I do actually kind of want to do that. So, hopefully that's something we can do in the next couple of weeks. So I guess if you're out there right now and you're like, oh, heck yeah, I could get a group of 10 people, 11 people together, or whatever, at noon on a Friday. Maybe let me know. I have not heard of plans to provide access to the bow and kick emotes for the boar mounts. Sorry. Nothing to announce about the featured instance rotation change. Sorry. Yes. We are cognizant of the performance concerns taking place on every night, and that has been something that we have been doing forensic, investigative, and other work related to for a while, and that will continue. Yes. Also, if we did do transfers from Honor, paid transfers from Honor in the future, those transfers too would not have the geographic restrictions. Uh-oh. Kind of not wanting to get all those wargs, but that's okay. That's okay. We'll just die? Maybe not die? Try not to die. Try not to die. Let's try not to die, shall we? And that isn't gonna help. Okay. Not helpful. Pretty close. Thanks for the save, dudes. Murty, the trapper. For the guild lag. Or kinship lag. That's some funny stuff. Thanks for that, though. Yeah. This goes here. I guess I would just say related to my bar as a 130 player missing Clobber. Did I switch tabs? I think I did lose Clobber, you're right. And I will take a look at that. All I can really say is it makes sense in my head. Sorry. I don't know what else to tell you. Yeah. But I'll take a look at that. See what's up. Because, yeah, I don't see my Clobber skill right now either. Yeah, I know that my UI is weird, and so I'm not trying to tell anyone that my UI is recommended. All I can just say is it works for me. Yes, I know it hurts people's brains. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Yep. Alright, let's see. Druid's Fire, I'm aware of what you're saying related to... So if you're a kinship leader, you have to abandon your Belphilus house. And there's a little bit of a partial amount question. I heard talk about that this morning. I saw some talk about that this morning. But I don't yet have anything to announce related to that. Let's see. Latest word. Once Jerry's back, let's give him a chance to stage messaging. Okay, well, what am I messaging? Oh, I don't know what the percentage is going to be, but we're going to be changing that percentage to get you more of your stuff back. And I'll have more about that after the show. So there we go. Alright. I think we're up on the amount of writs that you'll get back. And we're able to do that through a command, essentially, on the game world. So I think we're going to be doing that here before the afternoon is out. And we'll see what happens then. Alright. And let's see. I don't know. I guess really that's the main bit of news. I'm not sure I've got a whole lot else to carry the last 15 minutes of the show with in terms of information. It's been a busy couple of weeks, as you can see on the Bull Roar release notes and what have you. So I think we'll largely just kind of let that speak for itself here. But me head over to YouTube chat, see if there's anything I need to do there. I think I already lit this, didn't I? Alright, there we go. Oops. All right. Would it be technically possible to transfer a character from the U.S. server to the Legendary world, and then there from the Legendary to European? No, because the issue is beyond. The issue is beyond what world you're coming from. It's deeper in the character. There's like a fundamental incompatibility with all that old Codemasters stuff. That prevents those characters from successfully being able to transfer to a U.S. game world, and that same restriction is in place for the ability of a U.S. server character to transfer to a European game world. So that is not possible. What would happen, I believe, is you'd be able to transfer theoretically to NROK, and then when you try to go to the other game world, it would break the character permanently. Probably not something you want to do. So. And that's also then why we don't allow it. It would still, however, be a U.S. character. You know, it would most recently be a Legendary World character, but that wouldn't prevent it from having been a U.S.-based character in the past. The difference being that when you create a character on Untitled Ethel, for example, you don't have that same restriction. Why is Orban every? You do not have that same fundamental technological incompatibility. So you can go to either a European or a US-based game world without issue. Scroll up for question. Okay. Since the new raid is only one boss, will the dev team try to get in a difficulty level where it won't be cleared on day one on higher tiers? Well, it's always dangerous to say that you don't think it'll be cleared on higher tiers on day one. But it would be my hope that the next raid would not get beaten on, say, tier 3, tier 2, whatever. Whatever's made available at the time, as of the time of opening on day one. But I guess we'll see. Part of the restriction in access to tier 3 and up on Bull Roarer for this preview is to help prevent some of the pre-strategy that takes place by utilizing the Bull Roarer public preview server. And so, you know, to the extent that we share similar, you know, desires to want to not have people just completely use it as a way to create a walkthrough for day one, right? We'll see. We'll see. Alright, I'm not sure. Let's see if we got anything over on Facebook here. Alright, I think I'm actually caught up on chat. T2 and 3 will be cleared day 1, not even joking. Well, any game developer who puts hope in the idea that players will have a long, difficult time beating your new content are somewhat bound for inevitable disappointment. That's just a little bit of how life works. But, hopefully we'll see, right? Yeah, I need to take care of that debuff that they're casting first. Not that they haven't been able to be taken down anyway, but yes. There we go. Yes, oh, by the way, I am aware, Meredith1301 on YouTube, thank you for bringing that up again. I want to make sure I lock down what's going on there. I know that I've seen the reports about the new skill tooltip making a comeback over on this first Bull Roar preview, and I'll be looking into that whenever I can. Perhaps after the stream here. Alright. How we doing on time? We got a few minutes left. Let me kind of take one more swing through chat, see what we got. Go. What do we got? Someone's scaring me. That's fine. Can we see the return of the Bombadil server? That was a lot of fun. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I don't actually think we'll be bringing Bombadil back anytime soon. But it's great to read that there are some folks, almost a year on now, who still think of it fondly and are happy to see it. So that's cool. I think I'm going to try to go into a little corner here and see if I can avoid being killed the next time I log in on the battlefield. All right. Meredith, what's the thought process behind increasing DPS that plays a support role in a raid? Mostly that we wanted to lift DPS in general, I think up somewhere between slightly and a little bit more than that. So some of that DPS work, is not necessarily catered to a class's primary role, but is rather being done as part of the wider work on class balance that we're doing. This focusing, of course, on the class skills specifically, but wider class work that we're doing. All right, I think that's going to wrap it up then. Thanks very much for watching, everyone. I really appreciate you being here today. I will see you next Friday with more Court of the Rings here on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. You can find the full stream schedule over on twitch.tv/LotroStream, youtube.com/LordOfTheRings/live, and facebook.com/Lotro. We have got Tolkien Professor up next. Thank you very much for being here, everyone, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.